So I don't care how much money you showing off. It doesn't matter. You can take 10 million, go buy a yacht tomorrow, and you broke. You broke.
You might have to take notes on this bitch.
Well, the first thing is let me tell you first, is 3 levels to this. So everything everybody talking about on the internet,
Yeah.
that's just baby stuff.
Right.
So they going to get $100,000, $300,000. They go and do their credit. They got to have their credit done. Then they got to have their corporation, but not an LLC. LLC is for limited. Banks don't like limited. I'm a bank. I used to teach them.
Let's get it.
Okay. So there's 3 levels. The first level is they're gonna get $1, $2, $3, $4, $5,000 credit cards. Then they're gonna stop and let it hit the credit report. Once it hits their credit report, then they're gonna go in and file a tax. No, then they're gonna leverage their money. You got nobody talks about leveraging their money.
Yeah.
So that means you don't take $200,000. That's just a watch.
Right.
You're not gonna take $200,000 and go try to build a business.
Right.
So you got to go get yourself a bond it that makes your money explode. So the bank will lend you more money knowing you got a bank, a bond.
Yeah.
That's how they pay basketball players and football players. So then they're going to come in, after they leverage it, looks bigger. Now the bank will lend you more. They got money rolling through your business. Now you go and do a loan because you file your taxes. Now you do taxes, now you can go $500 to $1 million. After you file your taxes, then you're going to come in and you're going to take this thing here for $125 and you're going to get those stock certificates. Now you're going to go in and start raising money because your company looks good. Obama says you can raise funds and you don't need no broker-dealer. So now once you raise your money, raise funds, if you get the average fund is going to start raising 10 million, 50 million. One of my students is going for next week, $100 million raise.
Wow.
I go, real stuff, this is real.
Yeah.
So that's what a fund, but nobody knows about a fund. So online, they don't teach this. They don't know nothing about this. So now to get the credit done, that's done. Now you're going to put, get some trade lines put on it, whatever. Now you get your corporation. Once you get your corporation, you put those 2 together, you get your $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 credit cards, leverage, loans. After you do that, that's all they know. They don't even know this much, but that's all they know. They don't know the next level, crowdfunding. Build a fund.
Crowdfunding.
Fund, bro, because you got this document in here. When you get your corp, inside this corporation is what they call, right here, this is what they call, this is a good standing letter.
Yeah.
This is the first attack. It's just like, this is make you 100 heir. You want to be 100 heir? You're dealing with this. You're in good standing. They see that your company is good standing. They base you that hundreds and thousands, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 based off this. But when you want to go in and get 500,000 million, then they're going to deal with this. This is where you're going to go in and make your company valuable. That's when here, these are articles. This says in the articles, it says that we have this in the articles, it says this is who we are, what we do, and we'll abide by all the laws that are applicable.
Right.
But guess what? There's also something here called shares. When you buy it first, the corp is 0 par value. It has no value. Look in there and see how many shares you have. And when you got 10,000 shares, this is a license almost to print money.
Wow.
But nobody sees that.
No, they don't.
So nobody teaches them. So they go in, they say, oh, I got 10,000 shares. Your shares are 0 par value. You got to make them valuable because Bezos is worth $100 billion. He ain't worth that. His company is worth that, the value. Oprah, she got $6 billion. She don't have $6 billion on her mattress. It won't fit. Right? It's what her company owned, and Harpo, that's what her company is worth. The shares are worth. So let's substitute shares for the word assets.
Right.
So if you took that beautiful diamond necklace and all that you got and put them inside your corp, that would give your corp more value.
Right.
So we use the fake money, the 200,000 and credit cards and whatnot, buy real things like that or like property. That's why they call it real estate, because it's real. That's why they call it real property. Right. Under the Constitution, your real property, it didn't say your dollars, it says your real property is protected. you can defend that,
Right.
right? So you can't defend paper money. So they call it real property. You take the real property with the fake money, buy real property, put it in here, makes your shares have value. Now that you have value in your shares, now you can go in and give those shares to like investors who want to say, I like your company. Because rich folks, a lot of them are lazy. They don't
Right.
want to work non-performance income. They want to just come in and say, I got $1 billion. Take this money, invest it. That's what the dude on Shark Tank does. His name is Kevin O'Leary. He has $10.1 billion under management. He's managing somebody else's money. That's the
Yeah.
game. That is the game. We ain't taught that game,
No, we not.
right? So the next level, build a fund. He's
Right.
doing a fund. What about the guy named Robert F. Smith, the brother?
Yeah.
$250 billion under management.
Wow.
He just managed a technology fund. He said, give me some money. So the real game is, can you just give me some money at a high level? Give me some money.
So how would I be, like, for instance, if I was trying to how would I be able to get to that point for somebody that's watching? Like, just, I get, like, let's say if I get I set up everything, my corp, because there's a lot of people that's just at the, cleaning the credit level and getting funding level. And this is another level right here.
Oh, this is the level.
But how do they be able to, like, okay, my shares, right? How would I get people to want to give me money? Like, is it a way I got to set up the company the right way? Or is it, like, what would I have to do?
This will blow your mind.
Yeah,
The information that they don't teach us. They should teach us this stuff in high school.
for sure.
Guess what? Do you know, have you ever heard of a Lehman's Agreement?
No.
I was explaining that to my man here a little while ago.
Yeah.
There is a company that's called the Boutique. A lot of people may have seen that movie called The Boiler Room.
Yeah.
And after that was Wall Street. And after that was The Wolf of Wall Street, right?
Yeah.
Gordon, who lives in L.A., right?
Yeah.
Right? These are real people. This is real stuff. The Boiler Room, they have them in Costa Rica. They have them in Mexico. They have them in New York. They have them in L.A., right? Richard Gasby is the one they made the movie about in San Diego.
Mm.
So guess what? There's a company that's called a boutique now. They don't call them boiler rooms anymore. They call them boutiques because that movie gave it a bad name. But what do? They take your company and they take your share, your stock certificates that I'm going to show you right here. This is a stock certificate.
A stock certificate.
This comes for $125. You buy this book on Amazon called A Corporate Kit.
A corporate kit.
This is a stock. It comes with these things called a stock certificate. This is your millions. You take this and you give it to a boutique. You know what they do?
What?
They have something called a Lehman's Agreement. Say on your right-hand side, you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On your left-hand side, you say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If they raise you, they raise the money for you.
Wow. So they raise the money for you.
They get the money for you. So we out here talking about Section 8. We out here talking about, man, get 120, get 25,000 from Chase. That's game. These people go in, if they raise you one, this is called a Lehman's Agreement.
Right.
There are many agreements. I'm just saying this one. If they raise you $5 million, if they raise you $1 million, they get 5%. If they raise you $2 million, they get 4%. 3 million, 3%.
Right.
Anything over $4 million that they raise you is 1%. They raise you $1 billion, they get 1%.
Damn.
So you don't even have to work. You just raise the money. Now, Obama went in and said, you don't need a broker dealer. That's called the Jobs Act. He said you could take this and you could open up a place in the Philippines and have a call center of your own and have them just call people saying, hey, would you like me to, I'd like to send over some information on my company. Would you like to invest? So you got guppies, whales, and institutional investors. So a guppy, he's like a doctor. He'll get like $100,000 to $100,000 to $1 million.
Right.
A whale will give you like 10 million, 100 million. An institutional investor like Sony, they'll give you $1 billion based on a 504 Regulation D, and you can look this up. A 504 Reg D under the SEC is a paper that they give you and say, okay, we allow you to go and raise that money. With a 504, you can raise up to $10 million. So that's what I say you should do first.
Right.
Then once you have a successful raise, right, then you can do a 506. That's unlimited. You can raise unlimited money. So all you really saying is, can you give Willie some money? Not me. Can you give Willie some money? That's the game.
Right. You prefer a C corp or a S corp?
A C corp is definitely C. See, they don't teach us this. So an LLC means limited liability.
Right.
Limited liability. So why would you go out and go to the bank talking about I'm limited? They ain't gonna lend you no money.
Right.
You go get basic. You go to somebody, you go to a lady or a guy, whatever your thing is. You know what I'm saying? And you say, hey, we've been talking for a while. Maybe you should exchange numbers. You know, we got a lot of energy, a lot of synergy. Okay. Or okay. Whatever. Right. And you say, okay, she pull out a number or whatever. And you say, but I want to be straight with you. I'm a straight up guy. Say, what's that? He says, I'm limited.
I'm limited. Right, yeah.
I'm limited. Right. And you know what else?
You're right.
Say, what's that? I got liability. Say, what, you got an ankle bracelet on, but the police after you? What you mean? Your baby mama, You know what she gonna say? I forgot I left a pot on the stove. I gotta go.
Right.
Well, babe, what about that number? I'll see you around. She get in the car with your limited self. Bye.
Yeah.
That's what the bank gonna say to you. I know. I used to teach some of these guys.
Damn.
So now everybody's saying at least they smart enough to know to not do it on their own, they self, because you are the 85%. You're not a part of the game. You're a person. They own you as a corporation, right? There's two United States of America. There's the United States in America, the area of America, North America, and then there's the United States of America. That's Washington, D.C. And that's a corporation out of Delaware because they don't want to have liability. So they're smart when they made this whole thing up. So that's private and public. What most of us dealing with is the public side of understanding. We think we got to work. But this thing here is a C corporation. See, an LLC is limited. That's for protection, limited liability.
Right.
So banks don't like lending. They give you a little bit of money, $100,000, $200,000. What? Okay, that's baby. But they're not going to give you that big money, and you're limited. You can't go to the top, like I just explained.
Yeah.
You can't go in and use those stock certificates and raise millions.
Right.
So a C corp, not an S corp. An S corp is for investors. The investors say, hey, I want to invest in your company, but I don't want to be a part of your company. That capital gains. I just want to invest. Say, that's what I got. I got an S corp. So if you don't have investors, why you got an S corp? Why you got S corps? We're not taught. But Superman, Superwoman is the C corp. They call it a mama corp because it's shaped, mama seat, right? Yeah. So you put everything, you take the mama. This is purposely made to get money. Nobody never teaches us, but this is called a special purpose entity. It's a person, an entity, corpse, body, dead thing. You raise it up, you smell, touch, hear, and feel for it. You don't have a conscience. So you come in, I'm just an officer. Like United States is a corporation, says, you bomb that place over there, you're going to jail. The president says, I didn't do that. United States of America did that. Well, since they own you, when you're born, you're a citizen. They make you a citizen. They make you a corporation. And now they take money and put bonds on you. United States bonds, put a lot of money in one of your accounts. 12 Federal Reserve banks. Just turn over your social and see where your money is. That's your corporate number on the back. So now you go in, I think Atlanta is like C is Atlanta.
Yeah.
So all your money is in Atlanta. So you got 12 of them, depending on where you live. So now they hold your money, and then they use those bonds to borrow from the Federal Reserve Bank. They borrow their money based on you working. So all federal money goes in to pay the United States debt, all federal money, all federal tax. So since they own you as a corp, they're not going to give you as much as they give a corp because it's a separate thing. So you need to own your own corp so you can be the same thing as the president.
Right. So how do you build up a corp, like a C corp? Like if a person was starting from scratch, is it better to buy age, or is it just better to,
Well, it's a good question. So basically, banks don't like rookies.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They don't like risky, and they don't like rookies. So you walk in the bank talking about, I want to borrow, some money. They're going to say, first thing they're going to say is 2 questions. Age, how old are you? If you walk in there with a brand new LLC, you double hit. You ain't getting nothing, right?
Yeah.
First of all, you got an LLC, you're limited, and I got liability. They're like, oh, nice, thanks for telling us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Get out of here, right? And the second thing is, I'm brand new, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you got the wrong SIC code. A SIC code is a SIC code. A SIC code is an identifier for the bank that says we lend to them, we don't lend to them, or we give them a little bit of money. So they don't like risky things. So you walk in talking about, I'm ABC Trucking. We name ourselves things that banks don't like. Right. So the bank said, we don't lend to trucking. Trucking is risky, dangerous. Or we real estate, they don't lend to real estate. Unless you did 6 of them in a business. Now they'll start considering doing business with you.
Right.
So that's why you go through, hard money lenders in the beginning. But then they don't lend to doctors. Man, that's risky. That's why doctors are LLCs or limited liability partnerships. An LLC is not a corporation. That's a limited liability company. They don't have shareholders, but you want to use them shares to rise up. Right. So what's the use of that? You ain't going nowhere, right? So now the corporation is a person. So everything you have, they say, first of all, let's back up. If you go in and you say, I'm less than 3 years old, 2.5 tax years, they're going to say, you're a baby. Come back when you got some experience. 2 things they're going to ask you about. That's very important in borrowing and lending. How old are you? Do you have age? Do you have experience? And the next thing is what's your story? Because the corporation, remember, a C Corp is there to borrow money. That's what it's for. It's not there to do business. Most people think I got to do business and work and work and work. We get money to do business. We don't do business to get money.
Right.
That's what they don't understand. You got to work and work. I got to do marketing. I got to do car sales. I got to do, what you doing? I'm selling cars. What's it take to sell cars? I got to get my cars. I'm saving up for that. I got 5 cars now. Maybe in 5 years, I'll sell enough cars to get my own bigger dealership. Really? That's rookies. You go in and say, I would like for you to give me some money, not me, Willie Corporation. They say, okay. Is Willie built right? Is Willie a baby? No. So that's why you're going to get an age corporation.
Yeah.
Why you going to walk in the bank talking about I'm a baby? They're going to give you baby money.
Exactly.
Even if you go to the government to do like a government contract, which everybody should do, get some of that government money, like sign up for sam.gov, and don't be a minority. Now you're going to get the best deals, right? Which, there may be some laws put in now that's saying everybody's everybody. But still, the government contracts is 10 times more than the regular contracts. So you walk in, sign up sam.gov, they're going to ask you, how old are you? How old is your company? If you say I'm brand new, and smaller contracts. So you should have age and no matter what. So why would you wait around? They want at least 2 tax years, the bank.
Right.
Or any investor. A tax year is January to April, January to April. So from January to April, that's 2 years That's 1 year, 8 month, 1 year, 4 month, 1 year, 4 month. That's 2 years, 8 months. So that's you might as well round it up to 3 years.
Right.
So never go in under 3 years and never go over when you buy Age Corp over than 8 or 9 years. Why? Because the bank is going to say, wait a minute, just like dog age, a corp is like dog age. So if you're like 10, 11, 12 years old, you're like 65, 75 years old.
Right.
So you're telling the bank, I don't have no documentation and I'm
Right.
65 years old?
Right.
I ain't got no cars, I got no credits, I ain't got nothing. I ain't got no 4506Ts. That's taxes. I don't have no financials. And by the way, when you're funding, you can use stated financials. You don't have to have,
Right.
you don't have to have, and they help. This is a part of your leveraging, right? And your bond and your insurance on the bond. This is a part of your leveraging, your proof of funds that you can buy, right?
So your
Teachers.
proof of funds that you can buy.
Of course. Just go online and look up proof of funds. As somebody put you on their bank account, you pay them a little bit. That's not illegal.
Wow.
And now you go on the bank, go check and say, oh, this dude got $10 million. You on a bank account with $10 million.
All right. Makes sense.
But that's especially like when you're doing real estate. So that helps with that.
Oh, okay.
Because I manage $20.2 billion under management.
Wow.
Market traded notes. That's a whole nother world. So you want to make $1 at a 15-cent note. Because the bank has to get rid of the notes. They can't do 9 times of what they lent you. If they lend you $1, they now have 9 times that on their books. So, but the law, the rules under GAAP says you cannot do that if you have too many toxic loans on your books. So they say, we got to get that off. It's to stop keeping us from doing a lot of money here. So they will sell that to you, credit card debt, 3 cents on the dollar.
Damn.
So you go and spend for $300, you get $1 million worth of debt from the bank or a debt broker. Go look out online and just look up debt broker. So you go buy the debt, you buy the note. Anything is a note, right? The dollar's a note. It's a loan.
Yeah.
Right? Any loan, you have a note, a car note, house note.
Right.
So when you do that, now you own the debt that people are not paying. But now they're not performing, so they only worth 3 cents. But if you go in and make it performing, now guess what? Now it's worth the full value. So I could go in, I could say, you know what? I own your debt. You know what, Bandman, I own your debt.
Yeah.
You owe me $100,000. I'd have bought $1 million for $300. You owe me $100,000. You know what I'll do for you? Since I own it, I could throw it in the trash if I want, but Merry Christmas. I'm calling you not to do you harm. I'm going to help you. I'm going to erase all negatives off of your credit. You do that? Yes. And you know what I'm going to do? You owed me $100,000. Now I'm going to cut that into $50,000. Would you like that? Yes. You know what else I'm going to do for you?
Mm-hmm.
You was paying me $5,000 a month, $6,000, right? I have it right here. Yeah. Can you pay me $600 a month? And I'm gonna do all of this for you. But the only thing is you must pay on time that $600 every month for 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
I can do that. If they pay 6 months, some banks are 6 months, some banks are 8 months. I know banking. Once they pay on time, now you can take that $50,000 and go to the bank and say, I have a performing debt. And I need you to lend me 75% of whatever that's worth right now. The bank will say, how would you like that?
Damn. So just like that.
Just like that.
Damn.
That's
so
what they call performing non-performing debt. That's
damn.
why
I never. That's crazy. I never knew this.
Why do you think the people who do debt collectors, they start debt collecting companies?
Yeah.
Why do you think they become multimillionaires overnight? Because they go in, they collecting the debt from them, cutting it in half. And if I do that, if I got $1 million worth of debt for $300, right?
Yeah.
If I cut that in half and make that same deal with everybody and make it performing debt, I just made like $500,000 worth of positive debt. That means I got $300. I got $500,000. They're gonna lend me 75% of $500,000
Damn.
right now. And then what I'm gonna do with that? I'm gonna go buy more debt, and I'm gonna do the same thing.
Yeah.
So overnight, I'm gonna be a multi-millionaire. And then once I do that, I'm gonna go to the next level and I'm gonna buy house debt. I'm gonna buy the note. I'm gonna be the bank. So if I go in and I say, I'm gonna buy, but so you gotta have good money to do that.
Yeah.
That's why you step it up. So now you got some good money. You go in and say, I want to buy 16 homes from the bank. They're not paying. So if you buy that much, that costs you maybe about $100 million. But you go in, you buying it for 30 cents on the dollar. You go in and buy the debt from the bank. Once I get rid of 75% of it, I can say, listen, you flippers out there, y'all looking for inventory, right? Yeah, we need inventory. I'm giving you this house for 75 cents on the dollar. They're going to kick your door down, give you a firstborn.
Right.
But you guess what? You paid 30 cents on the dollar for it. So you made 10, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. You just made 45 cents on the dollar right back to you. Now you times that by 16 homes at $500,000. It may seem a little technical, but once you start doing it, let's do one house. Let's do. If they bought those houses, you paid off the debt, you still got 25 houses to yourself, free and clear.
Damn.
So now you take one house. At 500,000, you own it. Most people gonna sell it for 500,000. They're like, I only paid, 40 cents, 30 cents on the dollar. I only paid what 30, 60, 90, 100, 10, 20, $120,000 for a house worth 500,000.
Right.
But most people say, oh man, I'm selling that. I'm a banker. It's the numbers game. So you say, you want to buy the house? I'll give you a 30-year mortgage. So you're going to wind up paying me $2 million in 30 years, compound interest.
Right.
So why would I sell it? So I keep it and I say, I have a note. Remember the note?
Yeah.
I got a note for 30 years, a 30-year note. They're going to say, sweet, so I don't have to go get a loan. No, I'm the bank. So now you go in and now you own the house. You get a house to them for 30-year mortgage. That's what the bank does. If they make 6 months or 8 months payments on that house straight, that's performing note. Now you go to the bank and say, I got $2 million that I'm gonna get from them in 30 years. I got a 30-year note. It's valued at $500,000, plus the house itself has what, $300,000 equity. The bank is gonna flip its lid like, ooh, you speak Latin.
Right.
Somebody done taught you Latin.
Yeah.
See, because it's private and public. I'm teaching private right now.
Damn. Yeah.
So now you could go to the bank and say, I want to borrow 75% of this $2 million because they've been paying on time for 8 months. It's performing debt. I want to borrow 75% of that. They're going to say, when would you like it? Now, that means you're going to borrow $1.5 million off a house that's worth $500,000. You're going to borrow $1.5 million times 25.
Right. Now I get it. Yeah.
Now what you're going to do, you're going to take that and buy more notes.
Damn.
You pushing $1 billion, brother, in 2-3 years.
No, for sure.
Why you think the bank is so rich? It's just paper. We got to learn how to move paper. Paper. All this business that we doing. We need to be sitting on the beach talking about, I want to buy, what kind of paper you got? You got certain mortgage debt? Okay, I want to buy, give me, $500 million of that. Okay, $500 million?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get $500 million. The more debt you buy, the cheaper it gets. So you be buying houses out in California that's worth $1 million, but the bank got to get rid of it. You buying that for like 40 cents on the dollar because they got to get rid of it. The people are not paying. The bank cannot make that money if they have that debt that's not paying. That's called non-performing debt.
Right.
So first of all, notes, that's where the money is. I manage $20.2 billion under management. Market traded notes, non-performing notes.
Damn.
Right?
Yeah.
So if I can do it, anybody can do it. They just have to know how to do it. So back to your question, that's just one way of making that money. But the way to get the money to do it, I say, Mr. Whitehead, how am I going to get $100 million? The same way you went out and got $25,000 from Chase. What'd you do? You asked for some money. You went to the bank and asked for some money, right?
Right.
But you went in looking with a small mentality. You didn't go in and say to an investor, oh, I don't want 25,000, I want 25 million. Can you just give me some money? So you build your corporation up to it has value, make it look really good. Then you go in with this stock certificate that they give you inside this book for $125, and you say, I have this, and then I have what they call a pitch deck. Okay. See, a business plan, everybody's talking a business plan. That's because they're rookies, right?
Right.
Business plan is if you have 2 years in business. You've done 2 years of taxes, right? But you haven't had 2 years of taxes, so you're going and getting that baby money. But a summary is a summation when you haven't had 2 years of taxes. But when you're doing this kind of raise stuff with this, they don't care nothing about your credit. And this ain't a debt. You don't owe it. You borrow $1 million from the bank. At 10% interest, now you owe the bank $1,100,000 at 10% interest. Not this. There's no interest unless you do interest. You could do two things. You could do equity or you could do interest. You'll say, I'm going to go in, let's say I'm going to do 144 stock. I want to raise $50 million to buy this apartment complex. You have what they call a private placement memorandum. Plus this, that's $128, $25. Private placement memorandum says, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and we're going to abide by every rule that we're supposed to that's applicable to us. And sign right here, you can lose all your money just like Google, just like Yahoo, just like any of them. If Amazon, you invest in Amazon or even Bitcoin.
Yeah.
If Bitcoin crash, your money's gone. But if Amazon crash, your money's gone because you don't control it. The person that's managing the Amazon, if they crash and you lose your money, do you get any of Amazon's cars? Do you get any of the assets? Do you get any of their money? Where the money went? Just disappeared? Because the market went down, you lost your money, they still have that money.
Damn.
And this ain't a debt. So if you borrowed $1 million from the bank at 1.2 million, now the next level is you go in and raise funds, right? That ain't a debt. So you can go pay off that 1.1 million with this. The money that you raised, you could pay off that loan and you don't have no debt. Now your company is debt free.
Damn.
Who's telling us that? Nobody.
That's crazy. That's deep.
Hey.
That's deep.
This thing here is almost a license to print money, but they don't tell you that.
Damn.
They don't tell you that. Now, if you do a raise, you could do crowdfunding with this, right? that's when you go in and you raise a certain amount of money. You can do under the SEC. So we learn like the different tricks and stuff with the bank, but we got to start expanding our knowledge into high finance.
Right.
See, that's low finance. So we got to start expanding our knowledge into bigger money. We don't think that we can get 100 million, but all they're doing is raising money. What's a publicly traded company? That ain't nothing but a company saying, can you give us some money? It's just that they doing it around the world. Legally, I can raise money around the world. Can you give us some money? And we'll manage it for you. We'll give you either equity, right? That's a piece of the company. And when you get this, it gives you a piece of the company, right?
Yeah.
But after you make the money back, you can pay them off and take this back.
Right.
Or you can do, like interest. You can say, I'm going to pay you 8% interest on your money. And I'm going to send you a pitch deck. A pitch deck it's not a summary. It's not a my business plan. It's another level. It's a pitch deck. A pitch deck says, I know you ain't got time to listen to me all day talking about my business. Rich people ain't got time for that. So you write a pitch deck. That's big boy, big girl talk, right?
Yeah.
So you say, I'm going to send you, or remember that boiler room thing I was talking about, where they handle it? So they get used, you give them a pitch deck, you give them a piece of this, which is your money, pretty much. And then you give them what they call a private placement memorandum. That's the thing that says you can lose your money, right? And this is who we are with your pitch deck, describing what you do, best case scenario, worst case scenario, worst case scenario, medium, and best case scenario, right?
Yeah.
And then you say, these are some of the things that I feel can go wrong. But we have thought about this. So now they pretty much won't go wrong because we found out what to do in case this happens. That makes investors feel good, better, right?
Yeah.
Not just dream in the sky. You definitely going to make. No, we thought about this. And then you go in and say, and this is our competition. Either we don't have none, or these are the people that are doing it, so we're following what they do, and they made this much money, so why wouldn't we?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
This is your pitch deck, your pitch. And it should be real nice and real elaborate and real nice. Why not? You're trying to get 25, 50, 100 million, right?
Right. So you think that if somebody trying to put together a pitch deck, do you think that they should hire a company to put it together, or they should try to?
Definitely.
Yeah. Like one of the top companies out there. Okay.
Definitely. I mean, you want your pitch to look beautiful. So you got your pitch deck.
Right.
And you say, I want to send this over to you and see what you think about it. Because they ain't got time to listen to you.
You're right.
So you say, you can do this yourself. Obama said you can do this yourself. Right? So why are we sitting here talking about government cheese, Section 8? Because we don't have a clue. So if you don't want to do it yourself, you can go hire what they call a boutique, and they'll do it for you. Now, don't tell me a better game than this.
Ain't no better game than this.
There's no better, brother. You out here working, and everybody out here working and working and working and working. What all you're supposed to do is just ask for some money.
That's crazy. I never heard of that.
So this is going on everywhere. Just look online and look at funds.
Yeah, I see them all the time. I be seeing people like, a fund and a hedge fund. It's like is a hedge fund?
It's a hedge fund. You got a technology fund. You got a real estate fund, a RIT, real estate investment trust, or a fund. You have everything's a fund.
And these are companies that just basically properly set up their C corporation, aged, financials, got around the right people, got everything looking right, got this form, and basically asked for money.
Can you give me some money?
Wow.
Not no 25,000. and it's a debt. No, this is not even a debt. I don't owe you no debt unless you're doing debt interest. I'll pay you back some interest.
Damn.
But imagine this. There's a guy named Kevin O'Leary, right?
Yeah.
He's on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
He started a company like 4 years ago, I believe. His company, he has $10.1 billion under management.
Right.
I didn't say million. I didn't say thousand.
Say $1 billion.
Billion. 10.1 billion. How you think he's on Shark Tank lending out all this money? Other people's money. He said, give me some money, I'll lend it out and put it in companies I think I believe in.
Oh, wow.
That's what he's doing. You could be Kevin O'Leary. No, nobody taught you.
That's crazy. Damn. So basically, he's saying like, I'm gonna give the money out to people I think that that's crazy.
And he can and the game is that he can lose 15% of that money, but as long as he makes 85% profit, they happy. They give him bonuses. Oh, Kevin, here's a Ferrari.
What?
Yeah. Okay. Let's check out. How about Robert F. Smith, the brother that's paying off everybody's student loans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This dude has a technology fund. A fund. Keyword fund. You know, this dude has $250 billion under management. Give me some money.
So okay. You get the C Corp. Is it important to make sure you have a lot of employees under the C Corp as well? Does that be mattering?
No, you got to have, but you should have the proper structure. That's a good question. You're asking a good question.
Yeah, because, I know like when they go to the banks, they be like, how many employees you have?
Well, you should, it depends. When you go to bank, you should have like 125.
Wow.
You should have like 25 employees.
So, okay.
Employees.
For instance, would it be smart to hire employees overseas, like in the Philippines, to add on a company, or are you talking about like American people?
American, you want to have, but basically the structure of the corporation is very important.
Right.
So you should have for instance, the C Corp is a person. So we could start from the beginning and work our way up. So you have the LLC, which is limited. Nobody wants to do anything limited and for risky things.
Right.
Then you got the S Corp. That's for like investors, right? And they call it a pass-through. So a lot of times your tax person will say, get yourself a C Corp. I mean, not a C Corp, but a S Corp or LLC, because you don't pay double taxation. That's called like a pass-through.
Yeah.
Well, who cares about taxes when you're making all this money and you got a tax CPA handling that? Stay in your lane. And why wouldn't you pay taxes? Because the tax man and the bank are like cousins.
Right.
So when you go in and pay your taxes, they say, now, good boy, good girl, go take this to the bank, and the bank show them that you paid me, and now I'm going to go in and negotiate more money. So why wouldn't you pay your taxes? You shooting yourself in the foot for growth. Because every year you're supposed to make a little more, and the bank says, oh, you made more? Here's some more money. You worked good with that $1 million? Let's see how you do with $2 million.
So what do people owe on their taxes?
If they owe on their taxes,
they should pay them.
You should make an arrangement or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you should go in and structure your company and be a PG and pay that off, pay your taxes off with the money that you get from your other corporation. I'm not a tax man. I'm not I'm a consultant. So everything I'm saying is from my perspective.
Yeah, for sure,
right?
for sure.
So if you go in, you get this to get money, but you should always be in the green.
Yeah, for sure. Makes sense.
Check this out. Imagine this. People say, well, how do I get out that situation, Mr. Whitehead, of being responsible for that debt? But nobody teaches you the exit strategy.
Right.
You got to get out. You can't be a PG forever. So if you go in and you borrow $1 million from the bank, $100,000 from the bank, you should take out at least a year's worth of money and put it aside to pay the debt. It don't exist. I don't care if your girl, your mother say, well, we have that money over here. We can use that. I'm insulted.
Right.
That's how I stay alive. Because if you take the money and you put it aside to pay the debt, say if it's $1,000, they're going to charge you maybe, for $100,000, they're going to charge you $1,000 basically a month. So you take $12,000, put it aside, and then use the other 88, right, whatever, and use that to flex and build, and then expand your money, then go in and build your corporation and do a little business with it. But now you're getting ready to go fund, but not fund, but use this paperwork.
Yeah.
This paperwork so that you could get that debt, get rid of that debt. But the other way to get rid of the debt is to put money aside. So now you don't have to worry about servicing the loan because the money is there. But the bank, I usually teach people who make millions and millions of billion or whatever, this trick. If you pay your bills on time, guess what? That's an 80 paydex. So you need 5 to 8 trade lines in order to have an 80 paydex. This is a person. It has a credit score, it has a rating and everything just like you.
Right.
So if you pay your bills on time, that's like an 800 credit score, an 80 paydex. They call it a paydex score for business. So if you pay your bills on time, you get an 80 paydex. That's what we want to achieve.
Right.
When you check Experian or Dun and Brad or NAV, check your report, which you should always check.
Yeah.
You want an 80 paydex. It takes 5 to 8 trade lines usually, and paying your bills on time to acquire an 80 paydex. Now the bank loves it.
So on the business, so for instance, let's say if it's primaries, you get basically 8 primaries placed on your business if possible. You basically say
5 to 8. But
Okay.
You know what they teach you on the internet?
Yeah.
They say, oh, you could do non-PG funding. And everybody says, ooh, because they know a little bit. And they say, go in and get a Euroline.
Right.
Go and get a Quill. Go and get an interstate battery. Get 5 or 8 of those. And now you look good. You got your 80 paydex, so the bank gonna love you. But I know banking.
Right.
Who the hell gonna give you $100,000 because you got a $50 Quill?
Exactly.
Nobody.
For sure.
Nobody. All right, you got a $50 Quill.
I feel like it's better to basically buy the like age primaries that's with limits of like 500,000 or something like that, right?
I think it's better. The first thing is to go in and fund as a PG first.
Right.
So you get $25,000, $30,000, maybe a $50,000 revolving line.
All secure.
Also, right.
Okay.
Right. Unsecured. Credit cards. When you're a PG, you're going to get credit cards first.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so now you get $25,000 from Chase, or another 100, another 20, 225 from Chase, another 25 from American Express. You get 2 cards from them. By the time you finish, you should go in and get yourself about $150,000. Then cool out. Don't keep going, because online they teach you credit card stacking. If you do credit card stacking, the bank is going to see, why is this person getting credit so fast?
Right.
So you got to stop after 150 down, and then let it hit your credit report. That's called a tranche. So once it hits your credit, that takes about 3 weeks to a month and a half. Once it hits your business credit report, now the bank sees that you paid the bill, they get more relaxed. Now it's time to go in again. And now you go in and get your credit unions and go in and get your community banks. The community bank has more money than anybody, pretty much, because they got the same amount of money, but they only lend to a small community.
Right.
So they cup runneth over. So now you got your corporation, but they only lend, if you're in Texas, your corp's in Texas, but the community bank you want to borrow from, because you done check credit boards.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And you see everybody's talking about, I got this much money from Chase. I got this much money. That's what they do on credit boards. Right? So you go in and look and say, oh, this community bank giving out money like crazy.
Yeah.
So they're in Florida though, but you can't go to Florida because your company domiciles, they call that living where it lives, it domiciles in Texas. So what you want to do is you want to go file a foreign filing in Florida and say, I'm a foreigner. I want to do business in your state. Maybe $100. Now you live in that state. Now you can go to the community bank.
Wow.
And now the community bank is choo, 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 choo. So now when you get about, say, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, now you start leveraging because you got some money to work with now.
Yeah.
So now you start doing your bond, you start doing your maybe your proof of funds, you start doing things like letters of intent. Now say, for instance, you got a business.
Right.
I got a business. Why don't you work together? So I say, hey, Brand Man, you got your corp all set up and everything, right?
Yeah.
It's recognized through Dun & Brad and all that, right? Experian, Dun & Brad. You say, yeah. You say, well, I want to do business with you. Write me a letter that you're going to do business with me for $100,000, $200,000. Don't go too crazy. And give me a letter of intent. And then when I go to borrow from the bank, I'm going to say, I also got this letter of intent. They look at that as like money. Because now they're going to say, oh, that helps you. And plus, do a relationship with the bank. When you open the bank, put a little bit of money in the bank account.
All right.
500,000, 100,000, 5,000, 1,000, whatever.
Yeah.
So now you have a relationship. They feel better. But when you give them those other pads to make them feel like, well, this guy's about to get a hold of some more money, so now we can lend them. We feel easier. In your business report,
Yeah.
let's say Experian, you have three things going on. You got your credit rating, your credit score, or they call it a paydex score. We want an 80. That means you pay your bills on time. Over here is a circle. It's what they call like a rating. What's your rating? So you want that to be 1 to 2, right?
Yeah.
And then you have something that's called like where you're like you have a rating, and then you have like where you're how risky you are, like a risk factor.
Right.
So these two are rating, risk factor. That should be 1 to 2. Anything over that, now you're getting on risky. So you never, when you build your company, I'm going to talk about that in a second, but when you build your company, you want to build it the way they want it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So you want your rating to be 1 to 2. You want your risk factor to be 1 to 2. You want your score to be like 80
Right.
or above, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to show you how to go get above. So now you go in, once you have that, you look really good. So if you pay your bills on time, then you put the money aside to pay the bill. So if you get $100,000, you take out $12,000, put it aside to service the loan.
Yep.
And now when the loan comes out, you're due on the 15th. If you paid on the 15th, that's an 80 paydex score.
Okay.
5 to 8 trade lines is 80 paydex score. If you pay the bill on the 10th before it's due, that's a 90 paydex score.
Oh, damn.
If you pay the bill before it even comes out, that's a 91. You didn't pay, but why wouldn't you pay it before? Big companies do that. They don't teach us to do that. So you pay the bill before it comes out. Then guess what? You got a 91 paydex. The banker's sitting on the beach talking about, give him some more money. They relax. He's paying the bill before it comes out. But you put it aside to do that. Now, if you go in as a person and you try to borrow $90, you cannot go over 30% or your credit goes down. Right. Because you're a corp. They own you. But with your corp, you own it. Now you speak Latin. So if you borrow $90 on a corporation borrows it, you could be maxed out. And a lot of times the banks will give you more money because they know it takes money to make money. But you've been handling that money, so let's see if you can handle some more money. So if you pay the bill before it comes out and you maxed out, what do you think they're going to say? Shit, he handling that.
Right.
They ain't even no sweat. So now that's where you want to get them. These are the tricks why we don't get money.
Right.
So now, after 1 year, you got 4 quarters in a year. The first quarter, you pay your bill before it comes out. Then you go and ask for more money, because the trick is to continually make your corp have value. I need more money. Can you give me more money, please? So you going in, people generally ask for money when they need it. But you're supposed to constantly ask for more money. Don't mean you have to use it. You got
Yeah,
to
you
go
should be
get on it.
still
You should be,
asking.
you constantly.
Yeah.
You should have stacks of cards, stacks of loans, stacks of,
Yeah.
that makes your company have value.
Right.
So now you go and you say, listen, okay, first quarter of the year, you pay your bill before it came out. You say, I would like to have an increase in credit, please. They look at you, so you're paying the bill on time before it comes out. Give them some increase. Next quarter, 6 months, I would like an increase, please. Paying this bill constantly on before it comes. Give them some more money.
Right.
Next third quarter, same thing. The fourth quarter, you go in and say, oh, you would like an increase? Yes, but also I would like to borrow Willie Corporation, not me, would like to borrow 100,000 because that's what you borrowed initially.
Right.
Willie want to borrow that on his own. They're going to look at your credit and say, he's been paying this before the bill comes out for a year. They're more likely going to give Willie a loan on his own because it's strong.
Right.
Now you take that money and you pay off the loan that you PG'd.
Damn.
Boom, you out the game.
Right.
Now it's on its own. So now you go in and you start building another Willie.
Right.
There ain't no way you're supposed to have millions with this, and you're supposed to be able to protect your exit strategy. We don't go down. We make a lateral or we go up. That's a real businessman. I'm
Right.
not talking about game. I'm not talking about,
Yeah.
that's game. I'm not talking about game. This is business.
For sure.
So we are businessmen and we are business women. So when people ask you, they say, what do you do? You say, well, what I do is, I drive truck or I do hair. Nah, I'm a capitalist.
Right.
I look for capital. As a capitalistic society, I'm looking for capital in the capitalistic society that is legal and brings in capital. That's what I do.
Right.
I just happen to drive trucks. That's one of the things. You got something I can capitalize on?
Right.
I'm a capitalist. Just like the people who run this country and this world, they live on Capitol Hill.
Yeah. Right.
Where the president live? In the Capitol.
That's right.
So why aren't we or you or everybody capitalists?
Right.
It's a capitalistic society. I just happen to sell gold. I just happen to do Bitcoin. That's one of the things I do. You got something I can capitalize on? And we take advantage of other people's losses.
Right.
That's why I said non-performing notes. You losing your house? Dude, you losing a apartment complex? Hey, I'll capitalize on that. The bank ain't gonna lend you no money because you got bad credit, bad corporate credit, right? And I'm gonna tell you something about that in a second. I'm just gonna spill it, right?
Yeah.
Check this out. If you go in and you say you lost your apartment complex, you're losing it, the bank ain't gonna deal with you. They ain't even hardly talk to you. But if I come in, I'm in good standing. The bank gonna talk to me because they like this guy. He has a potential. He's an investor.
Right.
So if I come in, I say, listen, the first thing in business is I spend no money. If we can do it without any money, that's what we do because we're capitalists. So we go in and say, listen, this is the art of the deal. Everything's a deal. You losing your place? Yeah. How much is it worth? Well, I want 500 million for it. Okay. I'm not scared of the numbers. I want 500 million. Okay. How much is it worth? 500 million. What you selling it for? 500 million. Nice talking to you. Do I look like Willie Lump Lump? I don't buy nothing wholesale. Well, I buy wholesale. I don't buy retail.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I'm not living in this place. I'm a capitalist. Where's my capital on this? I'm not getting none of this. How much is it worth? $500 million. How much you want for it? 480. Now we can talk. So you got $20 million. You got $500 million. You got $20 million in there, equity? Yeah, because you know what? What's the story? What is the story? Right? Well, the story is, that if I had, COVID came around, I'm getting a divorce or whatever. Okay, I got the story. Makes sense to me. So now, how about I offer you 450? We take advantage of other people's losses. I didn't create the loss because you can have integrity and have money too. The only reason people steal and try to do crime or put in work, I didn't always have a suit on.
Yeah.
So anybody that's out here don't have this knowledge, they looking for a way. So sometimes in this monopoly game, if they give you money and you don't know how to play the game and they give this person money, this one, and they skip you, you ain't got no money to play Monopoly. The only thing you're going to do is steal or go to jail.
Yeah.
So, there's no shame in it. Because you don't know. But when you know better, you can do better.
Right.
So now, if you go in and you say, listen, I have integrity. I don't need to do this and do that. I can look up and say, yeah, I'm doing, I did this the right way. I just took advantage of the loss. Somebody was going to buy it. I might as well. I'm a capitalist. I'm capitalizing. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm just capitalizing. I'm helping you. In fact, I'm going to take your property. I'm going to go in. I'm going to give you $450. That's going to give me $50 million. You said it's $450 million. I'm going to go in. I'm going to get as a capitalist. I'm going to knock off 500,000. No, I'm going to knock off at 500 million. I'm going to knock off 50 million. And I'm going to get this deal done, but I want you to put it in my name. And then I'm going to refinance it because my credit is okay. Yours isn't. They're not going to deal with you. And I'm going to stop the foreclosure because I'm an investor. Whenever the bank sees an investor, they say foreclosure stops. That's the law. So now I'm going to be like, put you down to the bank and say, we have a person that wants to purchase it, right?
Yeah.
Short sale, right? We're going to come in pretty much, right? So I'm going to say, I'm going to offer you $450. Even if he says, nah, I'll do $460. Okay, fine. So I come in there at $450. At $450, I got $500,000. You put it in my name. That's called carrying the note.
Mm-hmm.
Now you carry the note. I go to the bank. I say, listen, I got this place in my name. I got $50 million equity. And it's 60% occupied. The bank gonna say, what?
Yeah.
You're gonna say, yes. They say, what do you want from us? I need you to refinance this place for me. Okay?
Yeah.
Refinance it in my name. I'm gonna pay him off. He gonna be happy. You gonna be happy. If I mess up, you just take the whole house.
Right.
You're gonna make $50 million. The bank gonna say, you look like you speak Latin.
Yeah.
Say, e pluribus unum. Yes, I do.
No, I ain't gonna lie. That's crazy right there.
Bruh.
That's crazy.
Moving paper. It's
That's
just
crazy.
paper. So now it's in your name. So you go in. Most people are trying to flip a house.
Right.
It's easier to flip a complex than it is to flip a house. It's easier because look, the bigger the deal, the more the bank is interested in saying, listen, you can make more of an equity spread because the person is having trouble. Don't ever go around trying to make a deal with somebody that's like, how much this car? 300,000. How much is it worth? 300,000. How much you want for it? 300,000. Okay, call me. I'll talk to you later.
Right.
How much this car? 300 worth 300,000? Yeah. What you want for it? Well, I'll take 250. Well, let's talk. Because you in trouble. What's the deal, man? Why is it? The deal is, what's the story? The story is, man, it was COVID. Me and the wife split up, or me and my partner, got your story. Okay, now let's go make the deal. Put the car in my house. That's called assumable. I'm assuming the loan.
Right.
You make a couple of payments on it, then that means you have interest in that car. The bank sees you as a person having interest in it because your check came from you.
Right. So you can get somebody to actually take the loan and put it in your name like that.
You can go in and take the apartment complex or the house flip or the car, and you can go in and tell the bank, I'm paying the loan now. And after a year of you making payments, let's switch over to your refinance in your name.
Mm.
But guess what? Why would I buy a yacht at full price when I could go to a broker dealer, a bank, and say, this person's not paying on this yacht? And go get that yacht and take the note and own the note and buy it for 20 cents on the dollar.
Right. So you actually have to go to the bank, or is it a way that you can, like, how would I, like, for instance, if I want to buy a note, would I just contact Bank of America? Like, how would that work for people that's watching?
You can go to a note broker.
Note broker.
Just go to the internet. See, if we don't have this knowledge,
Yeah.
then we don't know have a construct of where to go or what to do.
Right.
So we resort to other methods on how to survive.
So, for instance, if anybody that's watching, right, like, all the game you giving, definitely, like, I know for a fact that me, like, just like I'm shocked. I ain't gonna lie. What would you charge anybody that's watching for mentorship? You know what I mean? Like, what would be your price if they want to sit next to you and get all type of game? They want you to hold their hand step by step to learn everything. What would you charge somebody for mentorship?
I haven't really been doing mentorship, but
Yeah.
I don't know. We could come up with something. I haven't really come up to it. There's some people who are charging how to do marketing,
Yeah.
and they charging $50,000, $100,000.
Yeah.
Like
I charge $75,000. So I'm knowing, like, the information you got, you should be at least at $200,000 or more, at least.
you know what? I've been dealing with rich people so long
Yeah.
too. I'm just I'm like, they should be teaching us in high school. They should be
No,
teaching us in high
that's
school.
some crazy, crazy information.
But you know what? You have, like, I manage $20.2 billion under management.
Yeah.
Right? Market traded notes, non-performing notes. But there's people in my world, people may say, wow, when I do seminars or whatever,
Yeah.
people say, 20-point Mr. Whited, whoa. But they don't realize you got to have a micro and a macro.
Right.
So your micro is what's going to make you $1.5 million, not $200,000, because you're not even an accredited investor. Accredited investor means you're wealthy in this country. That means you have to have $250,000 that you can lose and not worry about it.
Right.
That's an accredited investor. And so if you get $200,000 from the bank and you lose that and that's all you have, you're not even wealthy. So your goal is to get 1.5 million, 1 million to 1.5 million that you can lose $250,000 or $300,000 as two people in a family. If you lose that and you have 1 million or 1.5, you okay. So your goal is the micro is to be an accredited investor.
Right.
Now, that's your micro, but we never think about the macro. What's the $1 billion? This is not 1975, Curvo.
Yeah.
When Muhammad Ali and them was fighting Joe Frazier and all that, 1960s and 70s, $1 million was a lot.
Yeah.
Right? This is $1 billion world today. We got a rapper, I think his name is Drake, right?
Yeah.
Smart guy. He sold some earphones for $1 billion. You got a rapper making 200 million like nothing. Okay?
Yeah.
So where is your macro, rapper?
Yeah.
Where's your if Dre has a billion, he should have 100 billion. He should be saying, hey, I got a name.
Right.
You've already passed the echelon. You've created a name for yourself. Do you think people around the world is not going to say, man, this guy created a name for himself. I want to get on the bandwagon. He came out with, he's doing real estate now. So you say, hey, you know me? Give me some money. Give me some money. You know me already,
Right.
right? If you got 200,000, you should build that money up and say, now I'm ready for my $1 billion idea. That's your macro. So nobody thinks about what is my macro, what is my micro. You got to hit the micro, then go for your macro. So in my world, I walk in, it's a true story.
Yeah.
I walk into people in my world that's doing $100 billion deals. You know, the bank trades at night when they close in Hong Kong. They trade in MTNs, market traded notes, in the trillions at night. When the bank closed, they go to Hong Kong and trade in at night because they're open. So you worrying about 200,000? You worrying about $1 billion? In high finance, 25 billion is a small cap, they call it. Look it up. And we run around here not even thinking about it. We don't even think we can get $1 billion, manage $1 billion, because you don't want to own nothing, remember?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so imagine this. If when I walk in around these people that are doing these multi-billions, I walk in and say, hey, John, how you doing, John? Hey, what's up? What's up, champ? What's going on, John? What's up, man? Hey, Derek, hey, how you doing, man? Did you bring coffee? I said, man, you talking to Derek? Why did he bring coffee?
Yeah.
Right? But they moving hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, billions. You know what I say? Oh, man, I forgot, man. What do you guys want donuts too? Hey, John, you want donuts? Rick, you want donuts? Yeah, Derek yeah. Be right back. Because their macro is moving hundreds of billions. It never stops. It's just paper. So if you're making 200,000, you should be looking to make 1.5 million.
Right.
If you're making 1.5 million, now you don't have to worry. You can relax. And now you can think about being a businessman or a businesswoman, a capitalist. And I need as much as I can get. There's a man named Rockefeller when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I'm old as dirt, So anybody that doesn't know this, and the younger guys, I think these guys, people like you and you know who it is out there teaching the credit and the course.
Yeah.
Those are troopers, man.
Yeah.
Because 20 years ago, in my day, nobody was teaching none of this. Going and getting 200,000 from Chase, going to get this and that. Nobody was teaching this. So those are troopers. I'm just an older cat. They don't know it because they ain't my age.
Yeah.
But they don't teach you this. The game is to be sold and not told. That's what they told me all my career. Right? So if you go in and you have $1.5 million, now it's like Rockefeller. He said when I was a kid, he said, the girl was interviewing. He was old as hell. He was the richest man on the planet. She said, Mr. Rockefeller, being smart, she said, you are the richest man in the world. And he was building some kind of plane or something. She says, how much money do you really need? As if like, why are you greedy? That old man said, I seen him on TV. He said, well, just about that much. His finger was going like this. He said, just about that much more.
Right.
In other words, it don't stop.
Right.
I don't give a hell. I don't care. You can do this sitting in your chair with your grandkids talking about, hey son, come here. I heard you talking on the phone. All right. You need to upgrade that paper. You're paying too much for that paper. You say, well, what do you mean, Granddad? You're paying 30 cents. You should be paying 25 cents on that paper. It's just a nickel. What do you mean it's just a nickel? That's what you should be doing, teaching your kids, your cousin that you love, your little nephew that you love. You should be teaching them this. Sit on a beach and teach this. Do you know there's so much money with rich folks out here who want to invest? It's unlimited because the money's not real, bro. The money is fiat money. The only real money is gold and silver.
Yeah.
So it's just numbers in a computer,
Right.
right? So the more you ask for, the more they give you. Oprah can't go in and say, I want my in the bank. I want my $6 billion. They're gonna look at her like you crazy. We ain't got no $6 billion in here. That's like Bezos, I want 150 billion. I want my money now. They're gonna look at him like he crazy. You know what? Ain't no 150 billion in
Right.
here. That's
sure.
electronics, sir.
Yeah.
So go in and get some electronic money.
That's crazy. That is true though. That's true.
It's true.
You can't even they gonna complain about 100,000 shit. You try to go in there and get 100,000 cash, they gonna ask you a million questions. You got to fill out some forms.
If you go over $9,000, you got to fill out a form. You got to send that out to. They got Homeland Security. They don't know where the money's. What you're gonna do with the money. All that. Who's taking out $9,000? You can't put in 10,000. You can't put in 10,000. You'll fill out some forms. But if you have a business, right?
Yeah.
You get less scrutiny.
Exactly.
Because that ain't your money. That's Willie money. Right. And you're doing business with it.
Right. That's crazy.
Right? So you're doing like, like Everclear, like most people, they're gonna move the money around. They're gonna do like escrow. When you're moving big money, you're doing Everclear.
Everclear.
You got to learn, M7s and M13s. Big money. How banks are moving big money, right? We got to know the language. We got to understand NCNDs and non-circumvent, we got to learn, M7s, M13s. We got to learn proof of funds. We got to learn how to, let's say you go in, you want to go buy a apartment complex.
Yeah.
The bank want to see that you have access to cash. So you go and get yourself you go get yourself a proof of funds. Hey, I want to buy, a proof of funds.
Right.
Because now, in the old days, you used to be able to go and do proof of funds. You know how those people, other people, not me,
Right.
But some people would go in and they would make up proof of funds. Well, you can't do that because now they have something, the 5 bureaus. You must know the 5 bureaus to play the game with business, but nobody's teaching us. Like, for instance, Experian, Equifax Business, Small Business Financial Exchange, Dun & Bradstreet, and PayNet. Not Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. That's personal. Business, Experian Business, Small Business, Experian Business, Equifax Business, Small Business Financial Exchange. That's banks talking to banks.
Mm-hmm.
Banks talking to banks, right? See, you ever read that book, The Meeting on Jekyll Island? It's a good book. That's when, a long time ago, all the banks was competing and fighting against each other. So they held a meeting in Jekyll Island. Right? I think that's South Carolina or something like that. And they all quietly got together and said, we will no longer fight against each other. We will now be one family of banks. So we don't be fighting against each other. So now you have something that's called Small Business Financial Exchange. That's where banks talk to each other. That's UCC 1, UCC 3. So if you go buy a house, they're going to report that house, right? As in the city you live in the county assessor's office, they're going to file UCC 1. See, because money's based on water law, not moral. Man is based on moral. Thou should not do this, thou should not do that. Money's based on water. They don't want nothing to do that's connected to them. That's why you have liquidity. That's why you have currency. Because it's water. And there ain't no rules in the water. That's why a pirate could go out and he can take everything from your ship, even today, and ain't nothing you can do with him. Yo ho ho with a bottle of rum, right?
Yeah.
So they named it underwater. Even the bank is underwater. The bank of the Nile or the bank, that's where the water meets the land. A bank. It's water law. So now, if you go in and let's say, for instance, you want to go in and buy a house, they're going to file UCC1 that's saying everybody, we're in first position and you can come later on after us if something go wrong, but we get our money first. So that's UCC1.
Right.
So that means we're in first position. That means you owe a bank, and all banks can see it because of financial exchange, small financial business exchange. So now, if you pay the loan off, they're going to go down and file UCC3. That means you've paid it off, and all banks and anybody can see that. They've paid it off. Reconveyance for a house. Right? So now, if you have a corporation, one corporation here, another corporation here, and they both your corporations, right? So let's say, for instance, you want to have credit on your corporation because that'll make you be able to borrow better.
Yeah.
If you had $100,000 on your corporation, right?
Yeah.
Then you think the bank would hesitate? And you already paid that car off. You think the bank would have a problem with you walking out there with another car at 100 or 200?
Right.
Because they see you got a good track record.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to build your your Experian, Equifax, Small Business Financial Exchange, Dun & Bradstreet, and PayNet. If you want a car, they're going to check PayNet. Phones, equipment. You see all this equipment around here? Why would we use our money to do that? Other people's money, other people's ideas, other people's effort. Not our money, right? So you go in, you want to buy a car, a Benz, a Lamborghini, a Ferrari. We got 2 car dealerships, right? So Primo and Prime Auto, we sell Jaguar, Mercedes, BMW, and Bentley. 6920 Miramar Road for a fine plug. All right, so if you want to go and you want to buy, let's say $100,000, $125,000 Benz, they see you already paid off $100,000. They're going to check small finance. They're going to check PayNet. That's where you go and get your equipment loans. That's what there's going to like phones or like computers or like cars or trucks, heavy equipment, furniture for your business, fax machines. They're going to check PayNet. So now you need to build that up. If you're going to go in and get like those store cards, like those quills and those cards you can use in the store, they're going to check what? They're going to check Dun & Bradstreet.
Right.
But that's not money.
Nah.
That's just store cards, which it is a way to go and get that money at the store cards. Right?
Yeah.
Right? So you go in, like you say, for instance, you go into Costco. You go get a Costco card for $10,000. You can go actually get a Costco card, but you can actually get a gift card, and that gift card is money.
No,
right?
for sure.
I mean, that's not illegal.
No, it ain't.
You know?
Yeah.
It's a gift. Give it to the gift, right? So, all right. Yeah. So, but I wouldn't really say you should do that because it's baby money and it's kind of on the iffy side.
Yeah.
You know, but let's say, for instance, you want those store cards. Maybe you're a flipper. So you want to go in and get that Home Depot card so you can use their money, and then you can go in and do your flip and pay them back 30, 60, 90 days. That's a merchant account. So you got to build up Dun & Brad.
Dun & Brad, okay.
So what if you want to go in and get Small Business Financial Exchange? That's going to be installment lines of credit money. So that's rate and term. Like how long is it going to be? You know, rate is what's the interest rate, and the term is how long it's going to be. And you pay it down, you're done. That's an installment line.
Right.
So that's going to be Small Business Financial Exchange. They're going to check. Businesses talking to businesses, right? Banks talking to banks. So if you want to go in and get those credit cards, revolving lines of credit and revolving credit cards, you pay them, pay it down, use it again, pay it, use it again. They're going to report that to usually Equifax and Experian, and sometimes they'll spill over to Small Business Financial Exchange. So if you don't know that, you sitting in your bed talking about, honey, fingers crossed, feet crossed, eyes crossed, honey, we could just get that loan. We'll be all right.
Right.
But you don't know how to do it. You don't know where to go, what to do. So you just wish it. You're not supposed to be wishing. A businessman is supposed to know. We need gas cards. Let's get the Dun & Brad built up. We need gas cards for our people. We need these cards. Right. We need equipment. Let's go get that built up. Get the equipment. We need revolving lines of credit, revolving lines of credit, whatever. So you're not wishing and hoping.
Right.
You know exactly where I'm going. But you know how many people actually know that there's 5 bureaus?
How many?
Hardly none. No,
for sure.
Hardly none, because they're not businessmen and businesswomen. They're just looking at, I know the bank is a lending institution, so I want to get me some of that money. Right. But they don't know how to get it. So you should know the 5 bureaus. Now imagine this. The reason I tell you this, watch this. So you got one company that's built up with Dun & Brad or Experian, and then you got another company that's built up with Dun & Brad and Experian. You want trade lines. So it's not illegal for one company to lend the other company some money. And then you can go and write it out and say, this is a note. You owe me to that company. And the other company, you owe me too. Right? And then you go file that down in this, just like the bank does, in the county assessor's office as a loan, and file UCC-1. That's going to spill over because, see, people buy that information. And now that's going to go on your business credits.
Oh, damn. Never heard of it. And that's crazy game. I need it.
That's how you do it.
That's wild.
That's how you do it.
Damn.
Now, people going out and they buy and they go and say, well, if I build up 100,000 or 500,000 or whatever on my business credit, I'm gonna look real good. Plus my credit, I'm gonna do real good. But they're going out and they're trying to do, a lot of illegal things. You don't need to do nothing illegal.
Right.
You can go in and you could do what they call reassignment of the debt. Remember, I said paper, you can buy paper. So if you went in and you bought somebody's paper for $100,000, I own it. I could throw it in the trash can if I want to. I own it. I can take that same debt and say, I'm taking it from you because you're not paying it. I got it for 3 cents on the dollar. So I'm going to call you up. I'm going to say, listen, you want this debt? I will assign it to your company, $100,000, and you'll pay me this amount. Maybe you'll pay me $6,000, $8,000 for $100,000 of credit on your court. I will assign it to your company. Totally legal.
Yeah.
The best way is reassignment of the debt. Stay legal, stay compliant. Now they load you up. You think you're gonna have a problem walking out with that Ferrari, no money down?
Right.
No, you ain't gonna have no problems.
Yeah.
So reassignment of the debt is all about that paper.
Right.
Just learn how to move paper. Learn how to raise money with paper. Learn how to move money with paper. Learn how to buy debt, reassignment of debt, and make the paper bigger, make $1 out of 15 cents. This is high finance. But nobody's teaching us that.
Yeah, that's wild.
We're going to explain how to build the court.
All right, better.
All right. So the first thing you're going to do is, you don't want an LLC. You don't want a S corp. I mean, there's nothing wrong with those, but they have specific purposes. This is a special purpose vehicle.
Right.
or a special purpose entity. So if you go in with this thing and let's say this is meant to get money,
Right.
right? So everybody go in and say, oh, you know what? I got my LLC today, and hi, my name is Byron. I got my LLC and it was easy.
Right.
Right. Oh, I'm Janet and I got my very own LLC and it was easy. And if you don't want any money, get an LLC. Right. So guess what? We want a C Corp because look it up. Look, I didn't make this up, right?
Yeah.
This is a purpose for purpose. Its purpose is to get money. That's what its purpose is for.
Right.
The other purpose is to have investors. The other purpose is a pass-through. The other purpose is a limited liability. Right. This is to get money. So when you go in with the C Corp, you say, they already know, oh, this person speaks Latin because Sony's a C Corp. Everybody's big as a C Corp.
C Corp, okay.
So the first thing we're going to do is get the thing that's meant to get money. We get money to do business. We don't do business to get money. Mm-hmm. So let's go in and not be a rookie. Don't be under 3 years old and don't be over 8 or 9 years old.
Right.
Next thing is we got the corp, get your credit tight, and now you take your corp and it's a person. So this thing right here, that is a good standing letter. So it's a person. So the police go in and say, are you in trouble? You give them your license. They look you up and say, oh, you ain't no warrants or nothing like that. Okay, you're in good standing. That's what this is, good standing letter. Over here is what they call articles.
Right.
The article says this is who we are, this is what we do, and we'll abide by all the rules. This is birth certificate that are applicable to us. We'll abide by all rules. That's an articles. And remember, inside here, we have shares. They're worth nothing until you build them up and make the company have value. Yeah. Nobody cares about how much money you have. Nobody of any real stature, right? Mm-hmm. I got $10 million in the bank. So, but my company is worth $10 billion. Really?
Right.
That's what matters. So I don't care how much money you showing off. It doesn't matter because the bank knows, investors know, you can take 10 million, go buy a yacht tomorrow, and you broke.
For sure.
You broke. But if you had 10 million in your company, they know you can sell that company for 3 times the amount of its value. Or if it's built properly, a C Corp, you can sell it for 6 times the amount of its value. Or if it's a publicly traded company, which is easy to do, you can sell that for 9 times the value of the company. So that gives you more buying power and more value. So it's not how much money you have, it's how much value your company is. I own everything. No, I own nothing. Right. This ain't even my jacket. Right. This Willie's jacket. This ain't my watch. This Willie's watch. This Willie watch, right? Yeah. Willie owned this watch. It gave Willie value. Willie said I needed a car. Willie said I need to ride up in a Rolls Royce. Right. So I went and got a Rolls Royce. Willie said, I just work for it. I'm what they call a taste, touch, feel, and smell for Willie, because he can't do it. And I got 3 people on the court. You look silly with 1 person on the court. You walk in the bank. Little quick story, real quick one. I used to own a chain of restaurants. I sold them a bunch of real estate, Homestyle Fish and Chips in San Diego. I was so proud of my first restaurant. I used to say, go and greet the person at the door. Welcome to Homestyle Fish and Chips. Come on in. Then I run behind the counter. I was the counter guy. Hey, we got red snapper, we got pollock, we got whatever you want. We got shrimp, what do you want? Fried mushrooms, whatever you want. Then I says, now, okay, your seater will come. And I was me. And I walked down the counter, I walked and sat you down. Would you like some water? Sir? Your waiter will be here in a minute. Then I walk in and come out with the white thing on my arm with the, hi, I'll be your waiter today. They looking at me like, you everything. And then a woman said, true story, excuse me. Then I go help the cook. woman said, excuse me. I said, yes. The bathroom is overflowed. I said, I'll call the maintenance man. And I walked out with my boots on. I went and I handled the toilet. That's what the bank looks at you like, with one person on your corporation. You look like a clown. So people never realize you should have 3 people on your corporation, or you look like you're running the whole organization by yourself.
Right.
That's why you don't get much money. So what I'm teaching you here now is called data points.
Data points.
So the bank wants to see that everything is in place. You only have 50 points roughly to go down, and that ain't much. 100 points personal. 50 points because they know you can wiggle out of that situation. So we go in, we create data points so we don't go down. So you go in and you say, listen, I got a president, I got a vice president that will handle things when the president gone, and I have a secretary. But don't sleep on the secretary, because the secretary know where all the bodies are buried. Not saying that there's actual bodies, I'm just saying, right? But that's why in the United States Corporation out of Delaware, you have the president, vice president, secretary of state, secretary of finance, secretary of commerce. It's a very important person. So people get tied up in I'm the president. I don't care what you name me, as long as you don't name me when it's time to get that money. You can name me whatever, but you should have 3 people on your corporation. Now, the state don't care. The state doesn't care, right? You'll see me on my website, on economicmasonry.com. Mm-hmm. You'll see me, all politicians, Shirley Weber, she's the Secretary of State. You'll see me with her. If you walk in, the state doesn't care that you have one person, because they're not here to advise you. But when you go to the bank, they're going to look and say, he don't speak Latin. Right away, they're going to say, how's he running this big giant company in one person? Right. Next thing is, on his good standing letter, when you have a corporation, you have a good standing letter, you see there's a date in here. When you go to fund, and that date is not as older than 6 months, you're going to go down, because you should order, anytime you get ready to fund, you should say, listen, this is older than 6 months. Call the state and say, can you send me an updated good standing letter? Because the bank going to say, that's old. And they're not going to tell you, can you get us a new good standing letter? They're just going to say, Your data points are going down. You don't have 5 to 8 trade lines on your corporation. Mm-hmm. Right? You have more than 3 inquiries on your personal. Yeah. So, but when you PG the corporation, that's not yours. That's Willie's credit cards. You just sign it. Right. So if you have more than 3 inquiries, you can't fund no more, right? But the whole trick is to get more and more money. So you go and you say, that is not my inquiry. So I need you to remove that, Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, because that's not mine. That's Willie's. I just signed for it. And then they remove it. Now you can keep funding. You have to know this stuff. I'm a banker. Yeah. So now you have your good standing letter. That's a person that says I'm not in trouble. You got your articles that says this is my birth certificate. And remember, we have the shares in here that are worth nothing. So we got to build it up by making, getting loans and buying real property, putting it in there. Now it has value. Then you go get your EIN number. That's what you call like it's Social Security number. Right. It's a 9-digit number. You remember people used to do CPNs back in the day? Yeah. I was doing that 25 years ago, bro. Yeah. Right? It's got a 9-digit number. The corp has a 9-digit number. Your social has a 9-digit number. That's from FDR, who issued those identification numbers for your personal. As a individual, you can walk in a bank and say, I don't want to give you my social. And they'd be like, oh, you have to. No, I want a non-interest bearing account. And they'd be like, I don't know it. Can you get a manager, please? And the manager will look it up and say, Okay, sir, so you don't want our interest? No. So, well, when FDR built this whole thing,
Mhm.
right, Roosevelt, he said they went to the war, they came back. They need Social Security. World War I, World War II. So he said, I'm going to issue the Social Security number. That's only based on things that have to do with the government. And the government backs the bank. So you get interest, you have to give your social. If you say, I don't want your interest, I don't have to give you my social. See, people don't know these things.
Right.
But let's get to this one. The EIN number is now the identification number. So you have all three things now. You got the good standing letter, which should be updated. Look at the date. You got right here the articles, which is his birth certificate. Then you go online for 5 minutes and get your what they call a EIN number.
Mhm.
Now you can go open your bank account. But like, you know what? The craziest thing is
Yeah.
people go in and they say, what is your what's the name of your business? And you say, well, my business is ABC Trucking. They don't like trucks. They don't like truck. They don't like real estate. They don't like trucks. They don't like restaurants. It takes 2 years to get a restaurant going, right?
Right.
And they fail most of the time, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time. And then they don't like risky things. So why would you name your company something they don't like?
Right.
Because you don't know any better. So they like consulting. They like like this. They love this technology, sales, stuff like that. Consulting.
Mhm.
So if you name your company something they don't like, then you're not going to get the money, or you're going to go down in money. So you should name your company. You should always name your company something that's general. That means nothing.
Right.
Like ABC Inc. That doesn't mean anything.
Mhm.
For instance, example, you ever notice Sony don't mean computers?
Right. You know.
You ever know Walmart don't mean cheap clothes? Right?
Yeah.
Right. Zenith doesn't mean TVs.
Right.
Starbucks doesn't mean coffee,
Right.
because they know better. Somebody taught them.
Mm.
So they know I'm not going to be put into a SIC code the banks don't like.
Right.
So I would say to everybody, go on Google and look up SIC codes that banks like and SIC codes that banks don't like. Because a SIC code is a identifier. Like I'm a trucker and I drive truck. Like I'm a trucker and I'm in the transportation industry. So let's say a trucker the code would be 1536, 15364. I'm a trucker. The industry is 36251. I'm in the transportation industry. That's a SIC code, SIC code. So go on Google and look up SIC codes banks like and SIC codes they don't like. Now you know not to name your business that.
Right.
Right? Or you're going to be like, but they don't like that. They don't like LLCs.
Yeah.
Right? So don't do that. Now you go in. The craziest thing is that people they go name their company. Mr. Whitehead said, or I learned not to name my company anything specific, right? ABC Inc. You should name your company something in a Latin name.
Mm.
Because this is a very quiet club, if you will.
Yeah.
And they can tell if you speak Latin.
Right.
So right away they say, he don't speak Latin. Oh, look at that, he don't speak Latin. It's almost like a joke. They like it. No Latin. You don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
But you go in, I say, listen, you didn't name your company, you didn't get an LLC, you went and got yourself an age corporation. Okay, great. And you didn't name yourself something that they don't like. Great. And then they turn around and apply for the EIN number and it says, what do you do? And you say, a trucking. Don't do that.
Right.
Right? They say, what
Yeah.
you do? I'm a consultant. Don't say something they don't like. Now you're getting your EIN number and you screw it all up. So don't go and get your EIN number and say something they don't like.
Right.
Now, this is a special purpose entity, a person made for getting money. We get money to do business. We don't do business to get money.
Right.
So that's what this is for. But if they like what you're doing, it's a special purpose entity, and you just fund it and keep it moving. If they don't like what you're doing, then it's a special purpose vehicle. That means, what do vehicles do? They drive things, right? So let's say you're in the trucking. Well, I don't say that you lie,
Right.
because I don't do anything illegal.
Right.
But I'm just telling you what the banks like. You can do what you want with it right after that. So banks don't like certain things. So if this is a special purpose vehicle that they don't like, get the money, what they want, and you drive it to where it needed to go.
Mm.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, I never advocate lying to the bank.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just telling you the rules. Right. So now, structure. We have to go in, get the corporation, then we have to build it like they want it. So we got to go in and say, this is a person. If you go in and talk about doing business out your home, that's your poor cousin on your couch. So you can't be doing business out your home unless you're going to get some credit cards. See? So you should have yourself an office. And a lot of times, if you're talking bigger money, they will do a site visit to see that that's an office. But in banking, they will look down on Google Maps and they will see that's a mailbox, etc. That's a person's house, or that's a PO box.
Mm.
And so go get yourself an office.
Right.
Next thing is you go in and you got to get yourself a landline, not your phone. That's your poor cousin using your phone. They go in, they say, what's your phone number? You say 777-9311. Then you turn around and say, okay, what's the business phone number? 777-9311.
Right.
And they like, either that's the Times, right?
Yeah.
They used to sing that song, right?
Yeah.
Or that's your poor cousin that's to use your phone. That sounds like the same phone number to me. So, you don't want to do that. You don't want to have a Google number. You don't want to go in and have like you want a landline, not a voice over IP.
Not a 1-800 number.
You can have a 1-800 number that's a vanity number. That looks good.
Okay.
But you want a landline first if you don't have anything.
Okay.
You want that. Then maybe you can add an 800 number. But now you got your address, you got your phone number. If you got an age website, if you got an age corporation, you need an age website. That don't look uniformal. It's not uniform. You got a brand new website. People crack me up. They got the brand new website with the old company. Banks, they're like, wait a minute. Next thing, so go in and get yourself an age website.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Go in, look, a domain you can't be talking about I'm yahoo.com, Gmail. That's not professional. You got to have yourself a .com. So you go in and get yourself an age domain number. Go get yourself an age domain, and now you everything adds up.
Right.
Get a .com. It don't have to be exactly the name of your company. When you buy it, you go in and just get one that's close to it.
Right.
Okay. Next thing, you got the age website, but the bank is going to look at who is. A company called Who Is. Go look that up. They're going to see on Who Is going to tell them how many hits you've had on your website. It's going to show the domain. It's going to show all that. So you should go in and hit your website at least 40 to 50, 60 times. Because if the bank looks in there and says you had no activity, They're going like, well, how you getting your business? Everything's online now.
Mhm.
But you got no hits, age website, age company, age everything, and no hits. You got to go in and hit that bad boy in and out, in and out, in and out. And now you got 40, 50, and say, okay, check.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is data points.
Wow.
See? Now you go in, you go register your stuff up in Dun & Brad or register stuff in Experian, which will spill over all of the rest of them. So go put in there your information. I ain't saying lie. I'm just telling you, like, go in there, put in your info, right? You put in there what is applicable, right?
Yeah.
Put in your information and let it spill over to all the other bureaus. Boom. Now when they go look you up, now you got to go and get Manta. You got to go put all these things together in your corporation. You got to get Manta. If they can't find you, then guess what? They say, wait, how you getting your business? So you got to register with all the business listings. Got to build a person here. This is a person. So once you build that up, you got your credit tight. Now you can go and make your first move. Credit cards. Do your credit cards, leverage it. After you leverage it, now you go and do your taxes, go get some loans. After you get your loan, boom. Now you go in at $500,000, $1 million. After you do that, now you go in. This book right here is $120, $125. You order that online. Beautiful. I love this book.
What is it called?
That's the corporate kit. This is
kit.
just, they put the name of your company on the front. This is the corporate kit. Nobody orders the corporate kit. This is where you talk about raising that big money. What's in here? These beautiful things called stock certificates.
Yeah.
I'll get it later.
Okay.
And they give you as many as you want. As many as you want. And they give you guidelines and stuff on about how to run your company. $125.
Wow.
Nobody orders the corporate book because nobody's teaching us, right? Now you take this and now you start raising money. A fund, or let's say you go out and you start raising money from a crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Or you go in and build your own fund. Now you're talking not 100,000, not 200,000, 100 million.
Right.
10 million. Go in and research funds online and look and see. These people are not saying, hey, invest in my company. We have a fund. They're not saying, give me $10. They're saying, we're raising 100 million for our real estate. Same thing as Google, same thing as anybody else. What Bitcoin saying to you? Give me your money and I'm going to invest it. It's going to go up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the same thing that they're doing.
Yeah.
You could do the same thing, but nobody's ordering the book. $125?
Yeah, that's wild.
Now, once you got that popping, let's look at the third level. A publicly traded company is Google, Yahoo, Amazon. They're all publicly traded companies. Do you know the same way you could buy an Age Corporation and not wait around to do business with the bank? And you can go buy a shell, not a shelf. A shell is a publicly traded company that you can buy.
Yeah, I never knew that.
You can buy a publicly traded company. That means the whole world, you can say, can you give me some money? The world. That's why they're so rich. That's why they're billionaires. But we have no clue. So let's say first a person, he had a publicly traded company. He's pulling money in around the world. And maybe, he got a divorce. Or maybe he COVID or something. Or maybe just don't want to do it anymore. They'll sell you that publicly traded company. You take your company, your shelf or your company, put it inside that one. That shell It's a shell. And that's called a reverse merger. Now you a public, imagine a guy walk up, you say, Kevo, what you doing? What you been doing these days? Ah, man, I got my publicly traded company. What?
Right.
How many cats walking around there talking about I got a publicly traded company, or I'm doing I have a fund and I'm raising 50 million, 100 million. If you got 50 million, you should be raising $1 billion. If you got $1 billion, you should be raising 50 billion. It don't stop. So these people are bragging, I got 200 million, I got 500 million, then you should have $1 billion.
Right.
You just don't know how to raise funds. It's a raise. So you go into the bank, then you leverage, then you start raising funds, then you get your own fund, and then your money's moving so well, you're very attractive, and now you open up to the world. That's called a pre-IPO. That's saying, I'm getting ready to go public. And everybody hears that sound, and the brokers all send it out to all the investors and say, so let me look and see how this company is doing, because I'm rich and I want to invest my money somewhere. I don't work. I like this company. So let me give you some money in there. Now, if you take some money in your fund and you say, I'm going to give you it's a debt.
Mm-hmm.
You say, I'm going to give you 8%. I'm going to give you 8% on your money. Check this out. If you gave them exactly what you said you're going to do, the word is going to spread around the world. You're going to have people coming from Dubai saying, listen, I seen what you did with that other business, I would like to start out by giving you, 5-10 million, okay, to see what you can do with it. People have money. They want to invest, but they want to invest with people who have a good track record, right? And you might say, I know because I've been there. You might say, but right now we don't have any slots. You know what I mean? So maybe in 6 months, they get mad. They say, what are you trying to say? You don't like my money? My money's not good? Okay, I said 5 million. The most I'm going to give you is 10 million. That's it. I know you're just trying to get more money. I'm sorry, sir. We don't have any slots. Mm-hmm. Look, we're going to open up for our next raise, right? Because you can raise a raise after a raise after a raise after a raise. But we're looking for Section 8. We're talking about a Ferrari. Man, you could be building like Trump. Yeah. And you're saying, okay, sir, okay, listen, I'll try to see what I can do. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. You do well with this money. We give you more money, no problem. I have many friends who wants to invest. Well, sure, no problem. Check with me in 6 months. You will have so much money that you're rejecting. That's what this is all about, man. People want to invest. What do you think the Wall Street is about? If you went in and said Bitcoin is going up 10%, 2 points, everybody's going to be dumping money into Bitcoin, right? Who's controlling the money? Because they're doing well with it. They're doing well. If you invest in Amazon just stock went up, everybody's going to say, Amazon, man, they're going to dump money. And then Amazon say, sure, give me some more. Yeah, give me money. We're doing great. I'm telling you, you want to invest. And the stock is the price of your paper is going to be bigger and bigger and bigger. Last time it was $10. Now it's $300. That's how that works. It's called volume, right? So now, if you go in there, you say, I'm giving out exactly what I said I'm going to do. Don't go in trying to beat and rip people off. You're cutting your head off. Or I'm going to go buy me a $10 million yacht with the investor's money. Why don't you just do what you're supposed to do and you can buy $2 million? They used to have a saying back in my day. Old man told me, he said, there's a saying, son. I said, what's the saying? He said, there was a cow and his granddaddy, little young cow. He said, Dad, let's go down and get a little milk from one of them cows.
Right.
And he said, no, son, let's walk down, not run, and get all the milk. So do what you're supposed to do and have some integrity. And then people are going to be like, man, this dude is doing exactly what he said. Give him some more money. And you're going to be like billions, brother. It's going to be. And nobody's teaching us how to manage paper.
Nobody. So that's crazy. That was some good game.
Yes,
good
sir.
game, brother.
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, y'all know what's going on. Famous and Wealthy Podcast, man. We got my man, Mr. Whitehead. He just gave the best advice, game, everything in the world, man. Stay tuned.